Quick little interlude here, folks. I'm about to get into some long-winded explanations and giving some advice. If you're watching this video just because you want to see how someone winterizes, look at the timestamps in the description. Jump to the part where I'm actually doing the winterizing. For those of you that love the channel, let's listen to me rant. Oh, yuck. Well, hello, Canadian Campaholic here on a snowy November day. It's around the November 9th or somewhere around there. I can't remember the date. And we've got a snow squall today. We do get snow on and off where I live this time of year. But these sudden cold temperatures means we need to winterize. I'm going to go in the shop here where it's a little bit warmer. Those of you that subscribe to the channel know that we do have another camping trip coming up. Actually, at the end of this coming work week, we're going back to Pinery on Friday. Kind of hoping to have a do-over after the last trip. Look at my last video to get details on that. But we've had a relatively mild fall. In fact, it was outright hot at certain instances, and so I have not winterized yet, which is unusual for me. We've had several nights where the temperatures did dip below freezing ever so slightly, but my youngest kids love the trailer. So what they did is they did a bit of camp driveway, and they slept out there with my wife. And of course they kept the heat running all night, which kept the plumbing all really nice. I also drained down the low point drains, and I threw a little bit of antifreeze just into the P-traps in the kitchen and then the shower, and then I put a little bit of antifreeze into the toilet. But that's only really a temporary solution. I was really hoping the weather would stay warm enough until we went camping that it wasn't necessary to winterize, but no, it's going to go below freezing tonight and tomorrow night, and I don't want to keep making the kids sleep in the camper every time it's cold. So, I've winterized many times on the channel before. This is not new. But I thought, what the heck, I might as well put something together just to touch base with everybody and walk you through my quick winterization process. The reason I was hesitant was, A, we're going camping again. B, RV antifreeze does make your water system taste pretty terrible. And even if you fill the freshwater tank and then run the taps for a little bit to flush that out of the system after you also drain the low points, a certain amount of that taste is just going to be in there. In the spring, you do an absolute massive flush process where you are filling and flushing the tank several times. But in a quick situation like this, it's going to taste like antifreeze. So our solution is going to be that we'll just buy a bunch of bottled water, we'll buy a few jugs of water, and then we'll use the onboard freshwater tank just for the toilet, shower if we need it, which we almost never use, and then, of course, just doing dishes. That should be fine. We've kind of done it this way before. But it will mean winterizing today, which is Sunday, de-winterizing, if you want to call it that, ahead of Friday's trip, and then re-winterizing again when we get back, because at that point it'll probably be time to park the trailer up on the yard and put it into its long winter slumber, which is kind of sad. So anyway, enough rambling. I am now going to get some supplies ready here, and we'll head back in the camper where I've got the furnace running, and we're going to winterize this sucker. All right, we're back in the camper now. We've got our jug of good old Winterproof. Not sponsored by them. I buy this stuff every year. You've seen it on the channel before. There's lots of different RV antifreezes out there. One of the big misconceptions about an RV antifreeze is that it doesn't freeze. It actually does. It does slush up, as they say. But the thing I love about this is that it's got the burst guard guarantee, which means it won't expand. I have seen this stuff slush up in the toilet, but it doesn't actually expand. And I'm always a little concerned that some of those cheap off-brand antifreezes could possibly expand, and it really isn't that much more expensive to get Winterproof. And this was on sale back in the late summer. So a jug like this, I've got another jug in the garage with about this much left in it, will be more than enough to do my little camper twice. So you do you, buy your product of choice, but I've had great luck with Winterproof. I've been using this for the last 8 years. Never had an issue. Next piece of kit that I have on standby, of course, is my winterizing hose. You've seen this before on the channel. This is the adapter that the RV dealer gave me. And this is the piece of hose that I've got. Vinyl hose. I keep saying PVC, it's not, it's vinyl. Which I'm going to use to attach to the pump. You'll see that in a minute. stick the other end in the jug, and I'm going to pump it through the system. Got to get some compartments opened up here, though, because I've got to access the pump. I've got to bypass the water heater and do all that as well. So you can buy permanent winterizing kits. It's like a little brass bypass valve that you can get. I think Camco makes them. And you can put that between the line that goes from your holding tank into the pump and the pump itself. And then that way you can just leave a piece of hose attached. And when you're ready to winterize, you just flip the valve, stick it in the jug, and run it through the system. I should have done that. I don't. I literally disconnect, as you're about to see, the inline, the water inlet from the holding tank. I disconnect it, hook this sucker up, pump it through. The downside is that once I disconnect, a lot of that liquid antifreeze from the pump will pour back out. So I always have some towels ready. So the way I'm doing it is a little bit more fiddly. If you find this way of doing it too awkward, then yeah, you could absolutely get the permanent little bypass there. The other thing that I don't do, two other things I don't do when I winterize. One, I don't blast air through it. There's a lot of people that believe in running compressed air through the system to dry it out. We've had really warm weather lately. Daytime highs around 12 Celsius, you know, getting into the mid to high 60s in some cases. And at night, yes, it's dipped below freezing, but it's always rebounded during the day. I emptied the low point drains, opened up all the taps, and drained everything out several weeks ago. So there's probably almost no moisture left in the system. Very, very little. Certainly not enough in my little camper to dilute this. It's the reason why people believe in blowing out the lines, is to stop the antifreeze from being diluted. I don't do that. The other thing that I don't do is I don't winterize my city water connection. So on the side of your camper, you've got a port where if you're at a campground with pressurized water, you can hook up a hose with a pressure regulator, and it pressurizes your system. There's a piece of hose, I'm oversimplifying here, piping or plumbing from that inlet into the main system, and there's a check valve in there. The check valve basically stops water flying out of your camper through your city water connection if you're running from your holding tank, right? Because if it wasn't, there was no check valve, when you switch on the pump from your holding tank, it would just blast water out the side of your camper. So there's a check valve. Where I'm going with this is that between the check valve and the outside of the camper, there's a section of pipe which, in theory, should be winterized. And if you've been using the city water connection a lot, then I would recommend you do that. You can use a funnel and dump some down the port. I've seen people use like a hand pump system just to get some antifreeze into that piece of the plumbing for the city water connection. Folks, I haven't used my city water connection probably since 2018, I think. So I do not bother with that. I've had no issues whatsoever. So my focus is the plumbing, the pump itself, and the hot and cold water lines inside the camper, everything that feeds the kitchen and the bathroom. So we're talking our shower, toilet, and basically sink. So let's just get stuck in and get to it. All right, we spare no expense here on the Canadian Campaholic channel to give you an immersive viewing experience. I gotta make sure this thing doesn't get crooked and that it doesn't pop off of my big fat head. God, it looks so stupid. But instead of dragging my poor son out here, my teenage son, to film this, instead of you seeing like the back of my fat head or my butt crack, I thought maybe I'd try this thing out from Amazon. It looks so stupid. But the idea is, as I'm doing the work, you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So, all right, I got my trusty screwdriver. I've got my piece of plumbing here. So let's bypass the water heater first. So to recap, for those of you that are new to this, I've opened the low point drains outside, unscrewed the caps. That drained all of the water from the hot side and the cold side completely out of the system. Holding tank's been drained. I already drained the hot water heater, so I can't show you that today. I opened up the taps too. As you can see, they're open. I'm going to close those now. Whoops. Just to make sure that everything was completely drained out of the system. And then I only put a little bit of antifreeze in the traps. Today we're doing the full winterize. Let's get this broom out of here. Sorry about the mess. And I need to get to this access panel down here. And hopefully it's not so dark that you can't see. And I am going to remove these two screws. All right. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is my hot water heater. Rejoin the action with a little more light on the situation. So forgive the cobwebs and the dusty old cloves down there to repel mice. But basically what we've got here is our hot water tank. I do have this little puppy pad down here in the winter time when things get really cold out here and frozen sub-zero for weeks on end. One of these, I think it's this valve down here, this little bypass valve, it shrinks just enough in the cold that it dribbles a little bit of pink antifreeze. It looks worse than it is. And just to play it safe, I put this under here for the summer season, but that's bone dry and there's no sign that any liquids ever come out of there. So must just be a winter issue. But anyway, we've got the hot water going into the tank, and then we've got the cold water going into the tank, my bad, and then the hot water coming out. So when this is in use, that's how it should look. We don't want to waste 5 gallons of antifreeze filling this sucker up to get the connection to work. So I'm just going to twist this top valve, and it's bloody stiff. And I gotta be careful that I don't smack my phone, which is on my head, into something. So if things are going out of the frame, I apologize. All right, and then we're gonna crouch down, and we're just gonna twist this bottom one. These have been stiff like this ever since I bought the trailer. My God, that's stiff. Okay, so now what that's gonna do is when we pump antifreeze into the system, it's just gonna completely, as the name suggests, bypass the heater and just go straight through this hose here. Okay, so hot water tank is bypassed. Now, if none of this footage turns out, I'm just not going to post this video because I'm not going to do it twice. All right, now, and incidentally, if I do choose to keep the video and this footage is half-assed, I really apologize, but you're probably all laughing at me and my regular subscribers are enjoying hanging out with me while I make a fool out of myself. Okay, so take this panel off. Oh, for crying out loud. Get out of there. There we go. I like to put those screws back in there so that I don't lose them. So that's the access panel off for the pump. All right, so what we got down here is our actual pump. And it looks like my mouse trap got triggered. There's no mouse in it. It probably just moved from transit. And no, nothing ate it because the moldy piece of peanut butter has fallen out of the trap. I'll have to clean that up. That's disgusting. I haven't had issues with mice in this since we've lived here. We'll talk about mouse traps and things on another video. I've got another video on the channel that talks about it. But anyway, this is what I meant when I said about a bypass. You can get a permanent valve that would go between the inlet side of your pump and this pipe. This is the pipe that goes down into the freshwater holding tank. And then that way you don't have to mess around with it like I am here today. So first things first, I have to unscrew, and this is all plastic, so don't use any wrenches or tools. It's all just finger tight. You don't want to strip anything or break anything. It's all plastic threads. I'm just going to disconnect this line. And this is the way I've done this every year for the last 8 years. Never had a problem. So I'm just going to move that pipe out of the way a little bit. And now, this part's always a little tricky. I got to take my piece of vinyl hose with the little handy-dandy connection that the RV dealer gave me, and I'm going to attach that to the pump. And it's always a bit of a pain in the butt because you got to get it perfectly lined up, which does mean that you've got to lift the pump up ever so slightly. And you don't want to cross-thread it because these are just plastic threads. And the little wings on this valve, they catch on the other pipe. And this pipe is, they didn't give you a lot of room here to work. This is very inflexible, especially because it's cold. And I'm sure many of you are probably screaming at the video going, you should do this, you should do that, you're making it too hard for yourself. And again, I don't want this super tight, I just want it finger tight so that it doesn't leak. There we go, that's good enough. So that's now attached to the pump. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our winterproof jug, and we're going to stick this hose in the bottom of the jug, and we're going to run it through the system. I'm not going to go crazy with it because I don't want to be putting too much liquid into my holding tanks. And at the same token, we're going camping soon, so I don't want to be wasteful. So don't turn on the pump yet. I'm going to open up my jug. Maybe I'll put this down here and then open it so don't slop it everywhere. Open up my jug of winterproof. I really hope this footage does turn out. This head mount's actually kind of neat. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world because I've got an S24 Ultra, which is heavy. But, alright, so we stick that down in the bottom there. As far down into the bucket as you can. Alright. I'm just going to go into the bathroom and make sure that I closed off the taps in there. Because I think I opened them. I guess we'll find out here in a second if water starts pissing out of the thing. I should have shut that off. Okay. I think we're okay. I think we're okay. Let's see what happens. If we start hearing water pouring out in the bathroom, we know we've screwed up. Okay, so up on the panel here, I'm going to turn the water pump on. It's going to suck the liquid from there into the pump and pressurize the system. This is when we hope that my lack of winterization recently didn't result in any cracks. We'll soon find out. Ooh, that doesn't sound good. Ah, I told you. It's pushing water out of the shower. It's so hard to know on this shower. I should label it which way's on and off. There we go. So something I don't normally do when I bleed the system is I don't normally leave the taps open. I did that just as an interim measure, and then I couldn't remember. See, look at the... Here, this is why I got confused and made that mistake. Forgive my wife's bathing suit. But there's no real way, no obvious way. I think it's like inwards shuts it off, outwards turns it on, which would be, I don't know, it's counterintuitive. So I had these open, and what happened was the gurgling you heard was the pump trying to push it through there. Anyway, so we've pressurized the system, and we haven't heard the pump run again, which is great. And if I look down there, there's no seepage, which is perfect. So what we want to do at this point is we want to start at the furthest point for the cold water, which is the toilet. And I am just going to open up that toilet. Now, it already has antifreeze in it because I manually put that in there. But I'm just going to run this till I see pink come out of there. Perfect. You don't want too much. That's enough. That's perfect. All right, now in the shower now, I'm going to take the shower head, and which side is cold? Is this one. And we're just going to run it a little bit. Perfect. That's antifreeze. Keeping an eye on the jug so we don't drain it too much. And then the hot side. Perfect. And now that's enough liquid that's going down in that trap to make sure that it's good for the next couple of nights. It's only going to go down to about -3 at night, and it's going to get up into +1, +2 Celsius. For my American friends, it'll be above freezing by a few degrees during the day, like 34, 35. So we're not talking hard freezes. We're just doing this enough to ensure that we're protected for this week. I don't want this dribbling everywhere. There we go. Same thing with the shutoff. We almost never use the shower. In case you're watching this going, you've owned this thing for 8 years and you don't seem to know how to use your shower. We never use the shower. Almost never ever use it. We're always just off the holding tank. And with 40 gallons of fresh water, you run out of that pretty quickly using your shower. So anyway, last thing to do for the plumbing now is the kitchen tap. So we'll run the cold. Beautiful. And then the hot. Perfect. Yeah, so we used a fair amount out of the jug. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is winterizing the plumbing. Now, obviously, bigger campers, you might have outside showers, you might have other bathrooms, other taps. Make sure you take care of all of that. But in our little 22-foot trailer, that is perfect. So, what we do now, in my case, is we go back up here on the board and shut the pump off. And we get some towels. because what's going to happen now is that a certain amount of liquid from the pump is going to come back out, and this is where having that that bypass thing installed would make a huge difference. So again, apologies if you can't see this. Puppy pads work really well for this as well if you get those at the dollar store, but I don't have any extras, so I'm just going to use a towel here. And our trailer has one-piece bow floor vinyl flooring, so even if I do spill a bit, it's not going to hurt anything. But basically, I'm going to start unscrewing this connection, and I want to move pretty quickly, and then lift the hose up to drain all this back into the canister. This liquid that's in this hose will make a bigger mess than what's in the pump. Once I get this drained and out of the way, then I can reach in and reattach the connection for the pump from the holding tank. So here we go. Again, apologies if you can't see everything I'm doing. It's almost disconnected. It's starting to dribble out now. Keep going. Alright, get that up and out of the way so that that drains back into the jug. Carefully lift that out. I'm just going to put that in the sink for a minute. And then it's not gallons of it pouring out. It's just, you know, the pump will have liquid in it. I'm going to move the towel out of the way now. I'll just put that down there. And we're just going to reconnect the connection from the holding tank. And make sure again that it's tight, but finger tight, no tools. You don't want to strip the threads and pull the threads. That's nice and tight. Beautiful. And then we'll just mop up any excess that's on the ground under there. And I should also find that nasty moldy bit of peanut butter and throw that out, because that's disgusting. And I'll rearm this trap. All right, yeah, a little bit of cleanup. Put the panels back on, and we are good to go. So yes, oh, my hair is a mess. That will do it for this particular video. A little bit of an experiment with the head mount, which I'm not sure if I'll be using that much again, but maybe just for the odd thing, maybe showing you how to hitch up and any other maintenance stuff I'm doing. Be hilarious if I'm ever outside doing outside maintenance. The neighbors see me, they're gonna think, what the hell? But yes, we are going camping this coming weekend. I just checked the forecast. It's gonna go up to like 7 or 8 degrees Celsius during the day and not go below freezing at night. So this white stuff and everything that comes with it is very, very temporary. We'll bring you along on that particular trip. And then we'll re-winterize when we come back. I won't film that. You don't need to see that again. So anyway, if this is your first time coming to the channel, I promise not all my videos are this haphazard and all over the place. Some are. Most are better. Please, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. And regardless of whether you're camping or not, hope you're doing well. We'll catch you on the next one.